Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. Back to basics. Man, I'm second guessing why I even selected back to basics, because I feel like I am literally experiencing beginner behavior all over again. Needless to say, it's a joy because as I am going back to basics, I'm rediscovering so many beautiful parts of myself and hearing others' story and learning how to appreciate where I am today versus where I used to be. And, comparison really is the thief of joy, even if you're comparing with yourself of who you used to be. And so, as we are still celebrating Women's History Month, I believe sometimes we as women, and for the men who are listening, just hold tight, but we can be so hard on ourselves and comparing ourselves to who we once were, and maybe men do it too, but right now I'm talking to the ladies, okay? And so I just want to encourage you, embrace where you are today and seek ways to enjoy who you have become. All right? With that said, last year, I got the most amazing opportunity to go to Minneapolis. I am learning that I really, really, really love the Midwest. I actually remember saying to Coach Zhao that I think I could live here. And I was like, ooh, did I just say that? Because I feel like that was a cuss word, especially during the wintertime. I don't think I could stay there during the winter. But, Midwest summers are just chef's kiss. Beautiful. They're perfect. I mean, it was lovely. But I'm not moving there yet. But I do have two amazing women that I did get to meet there. They are a aunt and niece duo who I met while doing some triathlon trivia. I know, who does triathlon trivia at Pack and Pickup? I guess Mashonda does, getting people excited about the race and just kind of giving them an opportunity to get to know me and me getting an opportunity to know them, get the feel of who would be racing the next day. Because I was a quote unquote visitor to their race that's been going on for over 16, well, it'll be going on 16 years this year, I believe. So having that esteem, pleasure of going to Minneapolis and being a part of the YWCA's Women's Triathlon, where more than, I think it was like 1,200 women that were there or registered, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 or 1,100 actually participated. And then this year I hear that it's going to be, registration has been bumped up to 1,400. So it's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. And guess what? I am excited to be coming back. Yes, I'm coming back. But this aunt niece duo made things so much fun. They were answering questions. It was really good. They got to win some grab bags that I brought with me. And it was just a beauty to get to know them. I'm going to have them tell us more about who they are, but I'm just excited to get to talk to them. Lisa Johnson and Camri Johnson, welcome, my friends, to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. How y'all doing today?
Well, better now that we're started, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So sidebar in terms of talking about now that we're getting started, y'all listen, you have those days where if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And you're just like, what? Wait, how? What is going on? So today I was on my trying to leave work. I work from home 95% of the time. But part of the 5% was today, and I had to go to work and lost my keys. I don't believe they're lost because I have this confession that I say nothing of mine is lost or stolen. So I'm hoping that someone turned them into our concierge and I'll be able to get them tomorrow. But that messed up my timing. And then Camri had some challenges. I'll let Camri, tell us about your day.
Well, first of all, I thought this would be completely on, audio, not video. So I missed that little note. And so I was like, oh, my timing. Oh, here's the first thing that went wrong. I thought it was 6 p.m. my time. So we're all in different locations. So, and then Lisa was like, it's at 5. And I'm like, yep, okay. So I'm just gonna dip into a coffee shop. But yeah, so I was just gonna go, to a coffee shop. But then we ended up we were running late, which was good for me because then I was able to come home and make my hair look somewhat decent. And and then my husband, usually he's off Monday evenings because every other day of the week he works really late. But this Monday he had a virtual meeting. So he's upstairs doing a virtual meeting. And then my 3-year-old daughter is running around the house hollering. We just adopted my brother's cat. And so his cat and our cat are like fist fighting all around the house right now. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, we made it. She's here being quiet. That doesn't happen. So yeah, it's all better now that we're started.
Yeah. Lisa, tell us about your day.
Well, I'm retired, so it's pretty bougie. So I live in Minnesota, but we got a place a couple winters ago down in Florida. So I'm down in Bonita Springs right now. It was a rainy day, and I think it's going to rain tomorrow. But Camri and Kamaya, the 3-year-old, were just down here a week and a half ago. So we got to spend a long weekend with my 2 favorite girls. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, I teach some classes. That's kind of my side hustle. I do Pilates and yoga, and I'm able to teach in the community I live in. So yeah, a pretty not stressful day. So I'm here for you ladies.
One day we'll get to that retired life, but until then, we'll live vicariously through you. Because my goodness, I know it's like, being able to wake up when you want to wake up, kind of, you've worked hard for that. So you've reached a stage where you can enjoy that. But I tell you, Camri, I keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. You are too. I appreciate it. I'm happy we're able to do this too. Thank you.
I am too. Well, let's get right into it. I met you guys doing the YWCA Women's Triathlon, and I know a lot of people, that's their first triathlon. It's a very good beginner's race. So if you're listening to this and you're looking to figure out what's a good race for you and you are in the Midwest area, I say definitely do it. Even if you're not and you want to travel somewhere, I say that is a very good race in Lake Nokomis, and it's closed off cycling course and a nice run trail or a run path. Very, very beginner friendly race. So how many years have you guys been doing the race?
We started in 2016, and I should let Camri tell you I don't know if you even remember this, Camri, but I sent a text to all my nieces and I think my sisters too, and said, hey, anybody interested in doing the YWCA try? And it was crickets, except for Camri said, I'm in. And so Camri and I ended up doing the race and training together. But later, in the middle of all of the training, she said, I was just thinking about maybe running my first 5K. And all of a sudden, you sent that text out. And so she only just really wanted to do a 5K, but instead she signed up for this triathlon with me. And that was wild. And so we've done it every year since then, except for the 2 years it was off for COVID. So this coming August will be our 8th race, Camri.
Yes. And I know I was trying to answer the question like how many years have we been doing this or how many races, because we've done it every year since we started, but the 2 COVID years it was canceled, so yeah.
So, Camry, you signed up under the impression of wanting to truly just do a 5K.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I want to start, or I just want to like experience a 5K. And then I was thinking that I had been thinking that for a while. And then she was like, who wants to do a try? I'm like, I'll do it. Sure. I was going to do a 5K. Anyways, back then to me, I was like 5K, triathlon. I don't know the difference. They're all hard to me. So, they all sound like something that would kill me. So I was just like, okay. But we did a 5K to train for the
Yeah.
as like part of our training. So it was like, and I remember thinking after that, like, whoa, I that was just part of the triathlon. But yeah.
Wow, the naivete, right? Like, you're like, sure, I'll do it. I promise you that stuff that I would do, like not really understanding what the full magnitude of something is, but like, sure, it can't, it's not going to hurt me. It's not going to do anything. Like, I'm just going to try. I love that though. You explored and you've been doing it now for 8 years. Now, how many triathlons do you do a year, or is this like the annual auntie and nieces get together? Well,
That, yeah.
I was about to
We
say,
just, well, this is our only try that we do. And
Mhm.
every year we just try to gather more people. So we've had, let's see, I think four was the most people we had. We had you and me, and then your cousin Jenna, my
Mhm.
daughter-in-law Tori, and then a girlfriend Jenny. So we had as many as four people, right? One, two, three, four. Yeah, five.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah,
Mhm.
five. And then, but every year, Camry and I have done it, and every year it's a little bit different. We have a
Mhm.
couple nieces that kind of, like do it every other year. But it's the one thing we do because we all kind of live around the Twin Cities, and then we use it as a way to get together throughout the year to kind of train and work out together. It's kind of our way to interact and hang out. So it's been a good motivator. But I don't have any hopes or desire really to do other tries. Unless Camry said, let's do this other one, then I probably would.
Yeah, and I always look forward to this as like the big fitness thing every year, but I haven't really thought of doing. The only other one I've ever thought of doing is the indoor winter one that I don't know if they still do it, but the YWCA puts on a winter try, and it's indoor in February. That's the only one I've ever just thought of doing. I like this triathlon, and even when I read about other triathlons, they're kind of scary. Even though I've been doing the triathlon for 8, I've done 8, but I really like this one because it is like just like a community feel, and it's not intimidating. Maybe it's because I've done so many, but um, I don't think I don't really have the desire to do any other triathlons unless Lisa was like, let's go do this.
I've thought of like maybe like to travel somewhere and do one would be cool. If it was another sprint, like a short one, and then to experience another place. But I love it just being women. And I don't know how prevalent that is. I haven't even done any of that research, but I don't think I'd want to be in a try with a bunch of men. I don't know. It's so supportive and everyone's cheering each other on. And the whole environment is just like lifts people up. And I can't imagine that being like, I feel like we got the best one already.
Yeah, same here. The fact that it's all women, I don't even. I probably would be extremely intimidated to do it with men, to be honest with you. Even though I know that's people do it and that's amazing, but I love that it's all women.
so having done both, I will say, as a first timer at the YWCA's race, I really was blown away. And I feel like I've been to a lot of different types of races. And I'm not just saying that because I was hired. I'm saying that because I was like, the thought that went behind all of the details really did just blow me away. And I can't describe, it's different. It's all in its own. I mean, down to like the different food trucks that were out there and given a variety of food trucks because, maybe somebody wants this type of food or maybe somebody wants this type of food or the gifts that were given out. Everything was so very thought of. The line, how you all get out to the beach. Everything and every detail was thought of. And the volunteers, and Kim Zest is the race director. And she says, most of the women who do our races only do our race. I didn't, you're like, really? They only, literally, I'm hearing it now. Like, you guys really like, I don't really have a desire to do anything else because this is our race. And that goes to show you, for those of you who are listening, just how solid this race is. Like, solid. And so, however, I am curious to see if you would do another race somewhere else so that you can have something to compare it to. Oh, I just talked about comparison being the thief of joy, right? I just see how quick that is. Or having a different experience, not that you're comparing, but having a different experience that could broaden your horizons that you may say, like, wait a minute, I may want to do an Olympic one day, or perhaps do a super sprint somewhere. Like, because I think Chicago has a super sprint where you can do a super sprint, you can do a sprint, and then an Olympic all in the same weekend where you can do 3 days of triathlon all in the same. I know it sounds a lot. Lisa's looking like, ooh, I don't think I would ever do that. But I hear it's fun. I hear it's a lot of fun. But that is, it is with guys. So I'm just curious as to know, would you be interested in, say, maybe 2026 or later this year, because you're already going to be trained, trying something different?
I would be open to it. Yeah, I would definitely be interested, especially if it was some like a fun city to go to, like go to Chicago for a weekend or go to, like Lisa said, travel somewhere and go,
Yeah. Those
I would do
travel
it.
like,
And then we could always do a relay if they have that. You don't have to do the whole thing.
so the problem with the relay is that I'm pretty terrible at all three legs. I don't, I did run one marathon in my life, but it was just like, check that box. But I'm not, I guess biking would be
You're a
my
fast
favorite.
biker. Yeah.
Yeah, I could do the biking, but
I'll
I'm
do the
really
swim.
pretty weak swimmer. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And yeah. So Mashonda, I'm curious, how many tries have you done? I was trying to find that out about you and I couldn't. I've listened to some of your podcasts, but I didn't get to learn much about your history.
Well, that's a very good question. So I think I've done, so if I've been in the sport 10 years, this is going on my 11th year. For the first 4 or 5 years, I only could afford to do one race a year because it's pricey. Um, and then one year, I think I did like 5, 4. So I'll say maybe 15 different ones. But
Wow.
now when it comes to 5Ks, I do 5Ks very often. Like the DC area has a lot of different 5Ks. And then I've done a 10K, a couple of 10Ks. I'm doing a cherry blossom 10 miler race. So I've done a 10 miler previously. I'll do another one in 2 weeks, or no, 5 weeks actually, from the date of this taping, because this won't air it'll air a couple of weeks from now. And then I did one standalone marathon in 2015, and I'm training for another standalone marathon in May.
Wow.
So I've been participating in endurance sports for about 2009. is when I got started doing my first 5K in Atlanta with the Atlanta Women's 5K. And then from there, just kind of kept going and wanting to participate, and was able to do more 5Ks and just running events because running, the pricing structure is very different. But moving over to the triathlon space, it wasn't as accessible for me in the beginning because I moved to DC initially to start a business. And so I didn't come with a safety net, as we talked earlier. I just kind of, if I feel something in my spirit, I just move. And actually, it was an act of obedience of moving to DC to start this business. And we did it for about 4 years before saying, okay, we're going to transition to something different. And so after that, I was also modeling at the same time. And so it was really challenging to afford to do more than just that, because at modeling, we didn't necessarily get paid like traditional jobs. You have to wait net 60 or sometimes net 45. So your pay structure is very different, especially when you're an independent consultant. And so it was just really challenging to do things that normal individuals with 9-to-5 jobs could do, as I was building a business at the time and also building my modeling portfolio at the same time. So it was just different. It was a different journey, and I'm learning to appreciate that a lot more. But this is really not about me. However,
But I'll say, it sounds like you did do a lot of racing though. You're getting a lot of races in. That's really impressive. And I know this isn't about you, but I have one more question for you. If you'll humor me. I'm curious about your 5Ks. Like, do you, in all the training you do in between, do you do those as part of your training, or do you do them to make you train? Like, how do they motivate you in the grand scheme of your tri training?
that's a very good question. So I am not 100% motivated to do workouts just because. So for me to have a challenge and a goal at the end of it is more appealing to my personality type, because it's like the reward of being able to achieve whatever it is. So I think I've grown into working out just because it's keeps me healthy and fit. But my natural inclination is to do other things that may not cause me to sweat and have to do my hair and cause me to, in the morning time, look like I'm trying to use a very good uh, terminology for it. Like, for instance, this morning, my hair was flat twisted down. Yesterday is a good example. So hair's flat twisted down. I had a Black History Month 5K that I was emceeing. So I had to put on a wig because my hair was still wet at the root. My hair is naturally coily, which means the shrinkage of my hair is very real. I also had some other events later that day. So I was like, I have to look presentable. So I had to wait almost 24 hours for my hair to dry from the previous activity in order for it to have these little crinkles in it. Because this is manufactured curls right here. Right? So for me, I am working through getting over not really caring how I look, because I care more about my health. And for me, at this point in my life, it's not I'm not trading off for it. So I'm like, look, I'll wear a wig. Or like I was telling this guy, I was like, look, this is me. Are you okay with it? Because if not, let me know now. But that's where I'm at in my life, where before I'll be like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure I look good, And I'm like, look, this is my lifestyle. Either you accept me for who I am, or we don't need to be together. Simple.
Okay, I can relate to that because I do not, it throws my whole workout routine off if I got my hair done. And I'm like, I'm not going.
That's what I'm saying. And then like planning your workouts, like, okay, if I'm swimming and I know I got this going on, okay, I can't swim until after this date.
Right. Yeah.
And I
And that's
know
what I
it's,
love to do the most, to swim. So I'm like, ugh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So to your point, Lisa, I do use it as a part of training. But this year, I told my coach, like, hey, I'm just going to do walks and just keep moving because I like the way I feel. And I don't want to take any breaks because in the past, I've taken this winter off and then I'm having to build back up again. And I was like, I don't got time for that because that doesn't feel good. Like the stopping and starting for Mashonda, let me be very clear, doesn't feel good. And so I said, let me try something different where I work out and make modifications throughout the year so that I'm not starting from zero when it's tri season. Are we off me yet?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Great answer. No. But
Yes, thank
that
you.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Lots of sense to keep it going year round, but it's hard in the wintertime or
Mhm.
yeah.
And this winter was brutal. So yeah, it's hard. But anyway, back to y'all because and the only reason why I answered your questions, Lisa, is because I am being personally challenged to share more of my story. So that's the only reason why you got away with asking me questions on this podcast. So just letting you know that. But from here on out, I am generously taking back control of the conversation so that we can move forward because people don't want to hear me talk. They want to hear about y'all. Are we ready?
We were ready.
Okay,
Yes.
we're hitting the reset button. So after hearing my story, are you interested in trying other triathlons outside of Minneapolis?
I would be. I
Okay.
you know, tries for me are really about spending time with Camry. Like that's, our goal is always
Oh.
like, let's try to train every week. Well, it doesn't work that often because her life is so busy. But we sneak it in and it's like as long as she's going, I'm in. And it's been great to bring some of my other nieces along too.
Mm.
I just think like embedding like healthy lifestyle, like you talked about already,
Mhm.
just having and like swimming is so good for your body and biking is too. Running, my body kind of hates, so I take some breaks from that. But this year I found a walk run. You had interviewed someone about walk running and for training, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that. And I was telling Camry about it, and she's like, this year I'm going to run the whole thing. So we're on different planning paths, but we'll be there together.
I did. I think that was McKinley, Mason, and Yolanda a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about how they did the run walk for the Tokyo Marathon. Yeah, it's a real thing and it's beautiful. So let's go back to 2016 when you started. Camry, you just wanted to do a 5K, but somehow you got drugged into swimming. Tell us about what your training looked like in 2016.
Oh, that was a good year training. I keep saying like this year we need to take it back to the basics, like you were saying, and go back to that what we did. We did so the nice thing about the YWCA Women's Tri is they offer this training guide, and then and it's like it comes out around May, and then it's just like what you should do every week up until the Tri in August. They also offer these little training sessions. They have these mini tries where you can the point of it is to kind of practice your transitions. And then so we did those. They had block trainings where we did a long bike ride and then we did a little run. So we did a couple of those. We did do the 5K. One 5K we did. I won a 55-inch TV, so I'll never forget that. That was my first 5K. And then We trained all year. I had somebody's bike. I think I had my aunt's bike that I used, and she had a really comfortable seat. So that was that was nice too. When I got my bike, it was a small, it was like a real narrow seat. I love my bike. That seat is harsh. But yeah, we that first, it was really fun. It was all summer we trained hard. Um we were kind of nervous, but we made it. So I want to go back to that training schedule.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I agree. That was our best because we were so nervous about doing it correctly. So we actually did follow the training program pretty well. And then since then, we've done it, you know, 7 times total. And we're like, we got this, we can do it. So our training kind of, we went backwards a little bit in our training. But then every year we go, this is the year we're going to do it. Well, maybe this is the year.
It is, because 2024 was so hard for me. I need to train.
Right. So we got commitment to going back to the basics and training like you trained in 2016. Now, in 2016, did you do the super sprint option or the sprint option?
Sprint. We did sprint every time.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about your first race. First time, you know, checking your bike in and all the good stuff. We want to hear all the details because both of you, even though you participated in the same race, probably had a very different experience. So let's hear it.
It was we were so ready because we were so nervous. And Camri probably remember. See, I forget stuff. But I had made like a granola yogurt parfait for before the race. Like, cause you had to get there at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever crazy time it was. It was like 5 or 6 to set
Yeah, it was
everything up.
early.
And then, yeah, it's dark but we were so excited. And I kind of remember that first year, the temperature being kind of perfect, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's what I remember. And I remember getting there in the dark, and it was super early, but and we were nervous, but like we saw all the other participants like parking their cars and riding down in the dark with their bags and helmets. And yeah, it was
Yeah,
fun. We because we wanted to walk all the transitions, so we got there super early and had a
did
lot of
all
time to
that.
do that. Ate
And
our
that race,
breakfast.
they used to put your age on your legs. Oh. So yeah, and so funny. My husband commented in the last 2 races or the last race, they quit putting your age on there. And for you youngins, probably is no big deal. But Dave's like, oh man, you've got 62 on your leg, and people are clapping if you're a little bit older. Like you just get points for that.
60 what? 60 where? Lisa, that's not
60.
your age.
Yep, I'm 62. Although here's the thing, they take you like this year I'm turning 63, so my age would be 63, which used to kind of irritate
I
me.
know. I remember we used to talk about that because both of our birthdays were after the try, and we are like, we're not really this age.
We're younger.
Your try age and your real age do not
Right.
always correlate. Let me tell you.
No.
Listen, I didn't even think about that, but it really doesn't always correlate. So you're always older. I wonder what the reason behind that is. Now I'm curious. I got to find out the reason why that is.
Right. Yeah. Most of us don't appreciate that.
Yep. It's motivating though when you're
Yeah.
getting passed by somebody who's twice your age, and you really don't, you wouldn't know they were twice your age unless the only reason you know that is because they have their age on their leg, and you're like, oh, she's passing me. But yeah,
But that
they don't
particular
do that
race,
anymore. We didn't
no,
have
I
our
don't think
age,
we
huh?
we
Last
didn't.
time.
No. We have the tattoos with the
Yeah.
numbers, and yeah,
I
but that's it.
remember too, the first race, the first couple races we did, they wrote it with permanent marker instead of the fake tattoos, which I kind of liked better because they stayed on a couple days. So when I went back to work, the next day I'll have it showing. They'd be like, "What you do?" And then I'll start bragging about it. But now the temporary tattoos, they wash off so quick in the shower. I can't brag.
Don't you guys get a like a wristband too with it?
Well,
I can't recall if you guys
No,
get
we
a
don't get a
wristband or not.
wristband. We get
well, the ankle
um
strap for the timer.
oh yeah, yep, the ankle strap, but they take
Yeah.
that back.
For the
and
chip.
then
Yeah.
and then we get like we do get our medals. So I
Yeah.
brought that into work a couple times.
That's right. Medal Monday.
hmm
Wear your medals. Yeah. All right. So you walked me through the morning of the race. Everybody setting up, your nerves are setting down. What was the swim like for both of you?
Torture for me. But I was so proud of Camry. Was not I don't think she was so tortured.
No, I wasn't. But I will say the first time, so I love to swim in pools, but the first time so throughout the summertime, Nokomis has open swim for all the triathletes to train at the lake. And like that was kind of the first time that I like intentionally swam in a lake. Like before, it'd be like I'd be at somebody's cabin on a boat and fall in the water and get back out the water, get back on the boat. I've never just like swam in a lake to swim in it. And so I was kind of freaking out the first time we went to open swim, and I had put my head down and I couldn't. The water was just brown. I couldn't see through it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is disgusting. I can't do this." And so we were swimming all the way out, out, and Lisa was in front of me, and I didn't want to leave her because she was like all worried about herself not being a strong swimmer. So I was worried about leaving her, but I was also freaking out, and I didn't want to keep going. Finally, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm done. So I turned around and left her. And then this guy, he was doing like the iron, he was doing a lifetime triathlon, or he was training for it. He stopped and was like, "Well, I saw you get a little nervous back there." And he kind of helped me. He was like, "You could just close your eyes when your head's in the water and open them out." And so I got I got into that habit, and now I always close my eyes every time I put my head in the water when I'm in the lake. So the swim on the first race for me, it wasn't. I really like to swim. I am a strong swimmer in the pool, but it was. I think the adrenaline kind of got me through. It was just weird having people like swim over you or swim on top of you. That was a little weird. I had somebody kind of swim on top of me a little bit. So that was shocking. But yeah, I was proud of myself because it didn't take me that long, as I thought. I can't remember my exact time, but it was like, I was surprised, like, oh, okay. But I do remember training in the lake that first year, and I was like, whoa, what did I sign up for?
That time, I had forgotten about that, but we have talked and joked about that experience since then when, it was like, we're swimming, open swim, and all of a sudden, whoop, where'd Camry go? And she's like, I'm out of here. And then that guy was so nice that he swam and he was like encouraging you, swimming next to you. And oh my gosh, yeah, it was pretty sweet.
So you had someone kind of help you when you were doing your practice swims that helped prepare you for the actual race day, which wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
And then helped to calm your nerves. You did the swim. Now you're going to transition. What was that like?
That was, for me, it was kind of a little nerve wracking because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I practiced for. But we were prepared. Like we were very prepared down to the order we had our stuff laid in. Like we had our socks on this order. We had our, things were just layered so perfectly. So it ended up working out.
Yeah, the transitions were kind of fun. It was a little chaos, but even though you were rushing, it was like you almost got to take a beat. So you weren't swimming and you weren't biking yet, or you weren't running. So the transitions were kind of cool. And the volunteers are like pointing you and helping you. So even if you felt a little panicked, there was someone just like right there to help get you in the right spot.
Now we're moving on to the bike. And Lisa, I hear this is where you shine. So what was the bike like for the both of you?
I had I've done better and worse on the bike, and now this last year I did better again. Um, so I'm like always trying to break an hour, like get it under an hour. For me, that's good. And I check on my speedometer so I know what speed to do, and then I'll always just kind of pick a person. And if we're kind of biking along, I'm like, I'm going to stay with this person. And then if I'm stronger, then I'll like just pick a new person. And then once in a while, they'll get ahead and they're like, oh, there's that pink shirt. I'm going after her again. And I've had in a couple of the races, I've had conversations with people and thanked them at the end for like getting me through. And, they've come back and said, no, you got me through. I was following you. And I'm like, no, I was following you. So it's, along the way, even though Camri and I don't do the races all at the same time, like she's a stronger swimmer, but you have other people around you that are just so encouraging. It's like everybody wants you to do your best. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say the same too. The bike for me it was kind of like the mental break, like even though it's not a break because you're still working out, you're biking, but it's kind of like, okay, you can kind of like mentally rest your mind because it's a 15-mile bike ride, so it's the longest part of the race. But yeah, was it was really nice weather that year, but I remember one year it was like cold because we just swam and then it was like freezing because we're still wet. But yeah, I like the bike part because sometimes I have to remind myself, okay, get back into it. You're slacking because you're getting too comfortable.
Yeah, biking in the cold is not fun, but when it's a beautiful day out, it is the best thing ever. So your transition from which is known as T2, from the bike to the run, what was that like for you? Because a lot of people have very different
Oh man.
experiences when they're getting off the bike, and Lisa's shaking her head.
It's like you just can't even believe it. It's like how can people do this? I mean, I know we've done it every year, but it's like your legs are not the same legs that were on the bike. You get them
Mm-mm.
on, and it's just like I remember Kim Zest, who you talked about, who's the race director for um, the Y now. But back then, when we first started, she was just one of the coaches. And I remember taking a brick or a block or whatever you call that, two
Yeah.
things together, and her saying, you gotta load your legs, or what did she say? Load your feet, load your legs. So before you get off your bike to get the blood back in your feet. And I just remember like thinking that in my brain, like I gotta get the blood back in my feet so I'll be able to like move when I get off my bike. But it's still even that little trick, man. It takes, I don't know how long it took me, but it's a minute to get your feet and legs moving. Yeah.
Same here. I remember biking back in and seeing the people running, and I was like, "Oh, why are they running so slow? Like they look like they're running slow." Like I'm like, "What? Why?" I'm like, "These are the first people that are done. Why are they running so slow?" And then I remember like leaving the transition area, and I started to run, and I was like, "Oh, that's why they're running slow." I literally can't move my legs. I can't put one in front of the other. Like I have to, it was, yeah, that was the hardest part. The bike from the bike to the run. That's the hardest part for me. Physically,
Yeah.
like it's just like your
Yeah.
legs are
Yeah.
rocks.
They do eventually kind of loosen up and you can move, but it takes a
Hmm.
while. I mean, it's just like, whew, yeah.
Takes a while, but guess what? You're running and then you get to the finish line. What was it like as you were crossing the finish line for your first time?
It
It was
was,
so great, wasn't it?
yeah, yes, it was. It was so fun.
Now, did you guys actually cross together or separately?
We crossed
Separate.
separately. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was really fun. Like I had
There's baby girl right there. She was like, I want
Yeah.
to get in on it too.
We had, yeah, the getting done. Oh my gosh. I do remember trying to like not run faster too soon. Like I wanted to come in strong, but I've made the mistake of like, oh, okay, I can do it now. I'm like, nope, that was too soon. But I like to try to sprint or not, or just run a little faster at the end. And it's that environment and look, trying to find my husband and whoever else is along to cheer us on. It's just, that's so fun. Yeah. And Camry's had her family come and cheer her on. It's just, so it's a big party when we're done. And then we always go out to brunch afterwards. They have all that great food there, which is lovely, but it's such a treat for us to go, depending on who else, if my other nieces are there, we just kind of go as a group and we'll get a fancy cocktail and have a good brunch.
That's the part right there. Fancy cocktail and a brunch. Let's go.
now you could say at this try, hold on, honey. You can tell the announcer what you want to be called or what you want your name to say while you're crossing the finish line. And I forgot that. But then all of a sudden I heard the beautiful Cam or something that I said. And I was like, oh, okay.
I think
yeah,
one
that
year
was
I
funny.
said, I think I had Fabulisa. I think I had one year. It was like,
Yep.
I love that. Like being called what you want and forgetting what you said you wanted to be called. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. That's me, the beautiful Camry. When did you know that you wanted to keep doing this again and again? When did you all make that decision since this was something that you wanted to do together?
I think it was right away, Camry. Didn't we say let's do, like we were like,
Yeah. I wanted to do it again right away for sure. Yep.
I mean, it was a lot of work and a lot of training, but the reward of that experience, I mean, that is just like a day of joy. It's just such
Mm-hmm.
a high emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So we talked about the first one. Now I want to go to the seventh one, the one that you just recently completed. What was that like? Because you have all this experience, and I've heard you say how, the first one you guys were training by the book, and then each year afterwards, you're like, we got this. We know what we're doing. But how did it change for you? And what were those sensations like? Because again, there are people out here who are trying like you and, may want to hear what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, this past year one, it was hard for me. I didn't train that much. Well, I trained a lot, but it was still not as much as usual. And the running, the biking, it was very hard. It was a challenge. But I mean, we finished, so it felt really good.
Yeah, we were pretty happy to finish. I did, because we'll like check our times, like our swim, bike, and I don't have them in front of me, but I know like I always think if I could have taken this year's swim and this year's bike and this year's run and had my best time ever. And this last year, I've had a lot of trouble with my knees. So I didn't run this last year. I'm like, well, if running hurts my knees, if I only run one time this year, I'll just run during the race. Well, that was a big, big mistake. I suffered that whole run. I was surprised at how hard and how painful it was. So I ran just parts of it. But I'm like, I was just trying to get my time faster. And this year I definitely know I'm going to train more for the run. I really do want to commit to training all of it more. I might even do some swim lessons just because this last year's our last one, my goggles got kicked when we were swimming, and so then they were off, and then I'm treading water trying to get them back on, and then I had a panic attack. So I swam over to a noodle person. They have this race, they have people floating on noodles the whole length of it. So if you have a panic attack or you get winded, you can rest. You can't progress, but you can rest. And so I was doing that, and all of a sudden I saw a noodle person. I'm like, I think I need to go over there. And I felt, part of me just felt like, I can't believe I'm doing this. But at the same time, I was so grateful they were there. And I just kind of let go of the fact that I needed the help and got my wind back and then swam, and finished. But yeah, I got to get it together for this number 8.
I forgot that I stopped at a noodle too this past year. I remember we talked about that because you were like, you stopped at a noodle, and I was like, I did too. And it was the first time I did it as well. So I'm like, yeah, I was just like, I was winded and I was freaking out. And yeah, but I mean, the race, it was still fun. It was still fun, but it was like a wake up call. Like, ooh, okay, I can't just wake up and do a triathlon. I gotta train for this big time.
I mean, that's the message right there. You can't just wake up and try.
No.
I mean, I guess you could.
Right.
You could just wake up and try, but not really
Yeah.
wake up and try.
We did, but we were not happy with the result. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
You guys said a lot in this last segment, and I think the point that I want to drive home is that every time you step out on the course, you're not guaranteed a same experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes the misconception comes like, people can have a bad experience for a variety of reasons and stop trying because they didn't have a good experience. But who's to say that on your 5th try, it won't be a great experience, right? And it changes your trajectory of your life in a way that you couldn't have ever thought or imagined previously. And so this is not to scare anyone. Like, this podcast is to be strictly like encouraging and to learn from other people's stories and to glean from their experiences, and hear from a variety of people who may not all look alike or sound alike, be shaped alike. So don't be intimidated if you don't have the race that you are desiring. I think it's just an opportunity to come back and try again differently. So I wanted to stress that because, I do know a lot of people who have tried once, may not have had the best experience, and let it go, right? And I think I wish I had that type of I don't wish, that's not true. That is really not true, because I've had a similar experience just with the longer course. I've tried long course a couple of times and it didn't work out the way I envisioned it, but I never gave up. I just said, okay, let me go back to the drawing board. Let me try again differently. Let me do something different. And each time I tried, I got better. And I think my confidence grew in a different way because I didn't give up. Now, I didn't get the result that I wanted, but something inside of me changed. And I think that's what triathlon does to people, is it changes you. Yeah.
It has
Camri,
impacted me.
you said what now?
I said it has impacted me, that's for sure.
Yes. Yep. It has. It's motivating, really. I mean, you see the just like you said, the diversity and the different shapes and sizes and just ages. It's a lot of motivation and like or inspiring. That's what I should say. It's very inspirational. Um, every time you do it, and it's kind of like every time you're like, oh, wow, I got through that. Like I'm like this last year, I'm like, I didn't train as much as I should have. I'm a little heavy. I'm the heaviest I've ever been, but I did it. And it's just kind of amazing. It makes you thankful, like it's amazing what my body can do, and what all of our bodies can do. Like this next lady who's looks different and is a different shape and a different age, what her body can do it is really a blessing. It makes you more aware, like, oh my gosh, this is, we're blessed to be able to do these things with our bodies and our minds, because it's a mental workout as well. So yeah, it definitely does change you, each experience.
Yeah, we are. We get to do this. And it is a
Mm-hmm.
gift to move on your own. I have a couple of friends who are injured and people who've been in accidents and they can't. And so it really is a gift. And I just want to say thank you for your transparency, Camri, because, you know, being in a larger body and or gaining weight, like it's not easy, but it doesn't mean that
Mm-mm.
you can't try. And I'm of an age where hormonally I've seen my midsection change in a way that I'm like, people are like, but you work out. Yeah, but there's something else happening, right? That I can't necessarily control. And so that can cause you to have like, you can be very self-conscious about that, especially in the kit. So I thank you for sharing that because I know that it will definitely touch someone and encourage them to, keep going despite weight gains and weight loss. Like we're never going to be the same. Every time we try, it's going to be different. We're going to be different. Like we're going to have lived experiences that are different at each time we go to a race. Like even if you race every week, like I know some people who race every weekend, the previous 7 days will change you the next 7 days. Like we're just not the same. And to have that mentality that we will be, we just setting ourselves up for failure. Literally. Y'all, we have been talking. Well, I have been talking a lot. I feel like Lisa threw me off with all those questions about me. And I was like, look, I really was not here for that today. But I will say this because I'm about transparency. I have been this voice, I believe it's the voice of God who's been telling me to share more of my story. And what you did, Lisa, was force me to share and be vulnerable about my experience. And to be honest, I was ashamed that I only could afford one race a year. And I know there are people out there who are probably in the same situation. And having to face that was hard because I had always had, but when I moved to DC, my life completely changed. And I had to depend not on myself, but literally depend on God for everything. And that was very hard. But flash forward 14 years later, being in DC, everything I've gone through has helped to build my character, helped to prune out the unnecessary things that will not be helpful in where I'm going, and to make me a better person and to be more created in the image and who he's created me to be. So, Lisa, thank you for forcing me into a vulnerable place because I literally have been keep hearing you have to share. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to do it. I don't really love social media. But he's like, no, you have to share because you could be helping someone else who wants to do this, but they don't feel like they can or can afford it. And so I had this thing where I would say I would try on a budget. But then that got
That's
thrown out the
beautiful.
door. It got thrown out the door when I started
Mm.
doing loan course. And then you're just like, there is no budget for this because you walk away and you're like, did I just spend X amount of dollars for this? And then to have the results not be what you want. So I say all that to say is that you really can do one hard things and it doesn't matter if the result isn't what you desire. Are you changed? Are you different? Are you better? And so for those of you who are listening to this and you may be strapped financially, there are ways to try. I want to share some of those ways that you can talk to race directors. And race directors have programs where you could come and help them set up. I did that a couple of times where I would come and help. This was before I started announcing. I would go and sometimes help set up a race or help tear down a race. You can decide to sign up early. The earlier you sign up for races, typically the better. But sometimes you may not be able to sign up early because you may not have the money earlier and you may have the money a little bit later. And so just know that you'll be paying a little bit more. But if you go talk to race directors and maybe do a fundraiser, like ask people, say, hey, I want to try this. Would you help me? Now that's a hard one. I'm not going to lie. That is a very hard one. But when I did my first Ironman, in 2021, that's how I did it. I raised money through the foundation
Wow. I
because I
imagine
wanted to
Ironman is
try.
super expensive.
Listen, very expensive, but I
Yeah, I
wanted
can't
to give
imagine.
back because I knew that community. Well, I hope the money goes to what it's supposed to go to. That particular community has, it was a very, it's a poor, one of the poorest communities in Maryland. And
Mm.
so to be able to give back to a community, that was important to me, as well as it was a benefit to me as well. You know, it was important because I was able to give back through the funds of other people, including myself. I even gave to the fundraiser, but then I got to actually race. So there's just multiple ways to do this. And I don't want you to feel like if you can't afford it, you can't try.
The
So
race that Camry and I do, I know they have on the registration, there's like places I've noticed that you can sign up if you want to apply for scholarships. So I'm sure there's the YWCA. I mean, they're all about, helping people out and stuff. So I know that particular race, there's ways if you can't afford it. And I don't know how big their scholarship fund is, but I think they get a lot of people in there through that.
hmm And then also people, a lot of people, you know, here in Minnesota, like don't have bikes. So, I would say borrowing bikes. There's a few like secondhand bike shops that are really, really actually really nice. But making a way to get the equipment you need, like bikes, goggles, something to wear when you're doing it. All those things, like those things are that stuff to think about because I've asked a few of my friends to do it with me, and some of them are like, "Yeah, I would love to do it." The swimming is hard for people. A lot of people just don't like to swim or don't want to swim, but I've seen like a lot of hold up to is affording it and having the stuff. Like you do need a bike, you know.
there's also another organization called Try Thrift. And Try
Mm.
Thrift is where if you need um, secondhand items for triathlon, they have them ranging from wetsuits to tri kits. I don't think they have bikes, but there's another organization where you can buy secondhand bikes on a larger scale. Um, you have to Google that because they don't sponsor this podcast. But Try Thrift is definitely a good partner of this particular podcast. And so I definitely say Marguerite is actually she went to grad school or something in Minnesota. So check her out. You can buy the stuff and she ships it to you. So that's another option. So there's ways to try and ways to do this. Let's get to some rapid fire questions. This podcast was not what I expected, but everything I needed. And I hope that it has been that way for you all and those of you who are listening. You guys know we go off um, sometimes it's off the beaten path, and it needs to be that way, and we can't control every situation. So thank you for being patient with us as we talked. And Lisa asked that question. Well, I was looking for you. So for those of you who want to know more about Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines, be sure to follow me at Mashonda Shines on social media. I will be sharing more of my story and hopefully encouraging you through life and the things that we are experiencing and just being that vessel of light for you. So be sure to follow that. But let's go to rapid fire. Y'all ready? Okay. I got to be, because you've done one a year in the same race. So I have to be very, uh, figure out some things. Okay. While you're working out, do you listen to audiobook, podcast, music, or silence?
Music, definitely
Ooh,
music.
music.
Favorite music artist?
Currently, Teddy Swims.
Um, just in general, I like one of my favorites is I have so many. I would
You
say
do.
Alicia Keys if somebody had to ask me my all-time favorite, but to work out is a whole different thing. I like to listen to rap music when I work out.
Okay. Well, let's ask, what's your favorite song that you like to work out to, both of you?
Oh, there's a pop song right now. Every time it comes on, I start singing it out loud. It's that one. uh, APT, the Bruno Mars and stuff. My husband's like, oh my God. So we'll get in the car and I'll crank it up and I think I can sing it. I'm not going to sing it for you, but it's Bruno Mars and maybe a Korean singer. I don't know. It's someone. Anyway,
Okay.
Mine is probably a Nicki Minaj song. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but either some type of lady MC, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, City Girls. I like to listen to that type of stuff. Working out, it just gets me moving, you know.
Okay. Let's see. Are you a transition minimalist, Goldilocks, or kitchen sink space hoarder?
I think I'm kind of a minimalist. Try to keep it simple, not too much stuff.
Mhm.
Same, minimalist.
What's your favorite pre-race breakfast?
Mm.
Yogurt
Yogurt and
and
granola
granola
and fruit.
and honey or
Yeah,
agave.
yeah.
Okay, I love how y'all said that.
I packed that for Camry for her first few races.
Hmm.
I would bring her a little food
And coffee. Don't forget the
and
coffee.
yeah, and the coffee.
And
Yeah,
ibuprofen.
yeah, and every.
I love how you said that at the beginning, but I was like, oh, maybe they changed it. So that's why I asked that question. Taper week, do you love it or hate it?
Say that again.
Taper week, like when you're tapering for the race,
Oh,
Oh,
do you love it or hate it?
love it.
oh yeah, definitely love it.
The first time we didn't we like do a little walk around Lake Nokomis or not around the lake, but just in that area, and then we walked to the ice cream shop.
Yeah,
That was right there.
yeah.
T1 or T2, which is more challenging for you?
Me
Uh,
too.
yeah. Oof. Yeah, definitely T2.
Hmm.
Okay. And I usually ask, do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break? But I know that you do sprints. So instead, I'm going to ask, do you pee in the water when you swim in Lake Nokomis? Or do you wait until you get into transition and go to a porta john?
If I'm lucky, I pee in the lake. I always intend to, and then as I'm swimming, I forget.
Yeah, and I could never pee during the race at all. So I just don't have to. I don't know if all the toxins are coming out of me sweating or something. I just don't have to. So
Oh my gosh. I love how you said, if I'm lucky, then I will. Wow. If you're lucky. Well, if you're lucky, you are lucky because you're here and you tried beginner's luck. So thank you guys for coming on the show. I appreciate you. We had this saying that whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win. And I must say that that is very true. You do win. Even if you have to try again, Aaliyah has this song, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again.
Try again.
So all you need to know is just get out there and keep trying. Be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Rank us 5s, of course. Yeah, that's what 5s, of course. Share it with your friends and be sure to follow Try Beginner's Luck on Instagram and on Facebook. If you have any questions, be sure to send us a DM. We're more than happy to ask that if you're listening and you want to be on the show. Hit us up. This show is for everybody. We want to amplify everyone's voice because we all have a first-time story. With that said, my name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines, and we are out. Peace. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.